Are you guys up for some watercolor magic today? How do you create a glowing, enchanting scene in watercolor? I'm going to walk you through this step by step. Hello, aqua friends. My name is Nicole. Let's get started. So this is what I've been doing, guys, all week is practicing and trying to figure out how to do a magical forest scene. I did mask out the fireflies, the butterflies. Very simple palette, guys. Here we go. I have Aussie Red Gold, Transparent Pyrrole Orange, Marine Blue, Indigo, and Neutral Tint. I did want to play with the contrasting colors and create like a very bright light source, but then also add kind of like a vignette of darker colors to really draw the eye into the painting. Once your masking fluid is completely dry, that's super important, guys, make sure it's completely dry, then we'll start working on the background. So wetting your paper, we're going to be doing this wet on wet. I wet my paper extremely well. You could see that because it's buckling. And I'm adding in these very warm colors, the yellows and oranges. I'm mixing them together and creating this light source. There is something about orange and turquoise, these orange and aqua colors. I just love those two combinations. More pulling on the blue side, oranges and blues, they are opposite on the color wheel. So not only am I creating a light source, but I'm using opposite colors, and it's going to be very eye-catching. Now that I'm done with the orange, guys, bring in the blues. Okay, so I'm working mostly with marine blue, and I'm getting those colors in there. I do want them to mingle lots on the paper. That's why I have so much water on my paper. And you want all your brush strokes leading to that vanishing point. So notice that I made my vanishing point kind of at the very top of my painting. And you want all those light rays kind of pointing to that same area. So I'm trying to build up these blues. I do want it to be a little darker here. Now I can also tilt my paper. Tilting is a great way for the colors to mingle. Look at the orange and the blues kind of spreading all on their own. That little transition right there, guys, that's money. That is so pretty. That's the money shot, is what I meant to say. And I just love it. It's got some like really pops of color in there. Now to add some more drama, flick some water onto your drying paper. And I made all these beautiful blooms. Now let's let that whole thing dry, okay? Now comes the vignette part where we're gonna do a second layer with the indigo and the neutral tints. And so I'm adding in these darker colors on top of what I already have. I also have a piece of paper towel so that I don't want to cover up too much, but I do need that contrast in order for my little glow orbs to stand out. That color does need to be built up, and so that when we do remove that masking fluid, it has something to pop against. So in my mind, I thought, okay, this really just needs to be like a vignette around the whole thing. And so that's kind of what I'm concentrating on, getting the neutral tint and the indigo around the sides and the bottom of the painting. And if I need to spritz a little bit to help to make it move around or to pick up some of the paint. Okay, tilting your board in the direction you want that to flow is also a great idea. So just pay attention to what is happening on your paper, whether or not you need to add some more colors or tilt your board in order for the colors to flow together. Adding spritzes of water like I'm doing. I kind of like how it's looking almost like a galaxy at this point. It's kind of cool. And this is all going to be shining through the forest. Being a little bit more bold here with these darker colors, I do need that contrast. Once you're happy with the amount of paint that you have, you're going to let your whole paper dry. We are done with the background. Now we're going to work on the trees. And I'm just using a round brush or a quill brush. First, I'm wetting the area and I'm bringing that wetness down into the bottom so that the trunk of the tree will kind of blend in with the foreground and the bottom. Where there's the orange bits, I'm adding the orange paint so that it looks like the orange is shining onto the tree trunks. And then where the blues are, I'm adding the blues. Now I'm doing this quite faintly. It almost looks like it's an outline of a tree. And then I grabbed a script liner brush and I'm looking at what a couple of branches might look like. So I'm going to go on to the next tree. So you're probably going to ask about reference photos, and like I said, what I did was I just Googled magical forests and I looked at images. I saw some butterflies, I saw light effects, and I've always loved the idea of like hanging lanterns in the forest. It's so, pretty, and I just kind of came up with this by myself here and added in some mushrooms and all the things that you will see if you Google images of magic forests, and I kind of just hodgepodged everything together. So I'm playing with some ideas of some trees that are very faint in the background and that are a hint of some tree trunks. Now comes the big one on the side that's got the mushrooms growing on it. So I'm wetting that one really well first, and I'm adding in the oranges, going about doing these trees all in the same way. Now at one point I looked at what I had and realized that it kind of reminded me of, I don't know if you guys remember the Predator movie, but you know how he's like invisible or you could just kind of see the outline of him. Well, when I kind of went back and I looked at it, I'm like, I made a predator forest. Like, you can't see the trees. They're not dark enough. And so then I went back in and I did darken things up. I had to be bold. So I had to bite the bullet. And, you know, you get so far in a painting and you ever get that thought, like you just don't want to wreck it, right? It's like, oh, I did so much work, I don't want to screw it up. But really, I can't like have a kind of forest that looks like it's invisible. So I needed to go darker. Going back to my Arnie days. Anybody in their 50s and love those old Arnold Schwarzenegger movies? I think he was in Predator. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he was in Predator. Okay, so of course, amongst trees, there's also going to be some brushes and just some foliage. And I decided to spritz my paper there, and I have a very light wash. Kind of, when I go really light like that, I'm like trying out a technique. And if I'm like, okay, yeah, I think that will look cool, I'll grab more pigment and then kind of go with it. For foliage and leaves and whatnot, I do love using a dagger brush, guys. And so that is what I switched to right here, is a dagger brush. Especially having some darkness around that butterfly, he'll pop out more once we actually put some paint on him. Spritzing that foreground to add in the forest floor. Now I know I'll be adding some light colors to the mushrooms, and so putting in some darker shades underneath is always a good idea. A little bit of spritz in the foreground here. I really like how dark the foreground is, and now I have to get those trees to match. And this is my eureka moment where I realized I need to go over these trees and change them from invisible to actually having some good amount of darkness on them. Coming in with some bolder oranges, transition into those blues. And just like that, bam, I got a foreground tree. Finally. It's not invisible anymore. Okay, so since that turned out so well, I'm going to go over and do the same thing with the other trees. All right, so much better. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other two trees. Now with a script liner brush, I'm pulling out a couple of grasses and just adding a little bit of detail. I do like how that orange tree just kind of fades into the foreground, and so I just added water to kind of make it fade out because it looks mysterious. Here I go with my script liner brush, teasing out some more grasses. I just love how that background turned out though, guys. Look at that money shot. Woo! It is so pretty. All right, so we're gonna let that whole thing dry. And now, before I take the masking fluid off, I do need to draw in the swags that are holding these lights. And so I'm using a script liner brush for that. Sorry, my big head keeps getting in the way. It's like connect the dots, guys, just like when we were kids. Connect those dots. So much fun. Okay. Couple more. All right. So I lost my masking fluid pickup. That's what it's called. I lost my masking fluid pickup, and so I painstakingly had to use my fingers to remove. I'm going to have to buy another one. I looked all over my darn place for this stupid masking fluid pickup. I cannot find it. So I'm obviously fast forwarding this, as nobody wants to watch you pick off masking fluid. But already, guys, look at how much those white areas pop. There is a line that I forgot to draw in, so I'm going to carefully finish my swag here. There we go. So, decided to go for painting the butterflies first. I'm sticking to the same palette. It's going to be like a monarch butterfly. It's going to be orange. And I don't really want to take away from the forest with too much detail here. These are very, very simple butterflies. I'm not adding a lot of detail. It's little pops of oranges, working wet on wet to create him, her, them. So once I'm done with the oranges, I used the same orange on these little mushroom areas. Adding a little bits of warm colors to the fireflies as well. All right, so for a little bit of detail, I've basically just mixed my marine blue with the orange. It's going to cancel each other out and make a dark color, like a brown or like a dark gray color. And just adding a little bit of detail. Like I said, I don't want the butterflies to steal the show, but just a little bit of detail is nice. Okay, adding that same dark colors on the bottom parts of these tree areas. Now I do want a glowing effect, and so I did use a little piece of magic eraser or a magic eraser sheet, which you could find in any cleaning section of any supermarket. You're basically just using it damply. I'm using tweezers, it just helps hold it. And you're just basically going around your circle and blurring the edges, and then taking a piece of paper towel and blotting it. Well, the tweezers weren't working out as good as me sticking a magic eraser sheet on the end of a brush, and so I found that it was a little easier to work with. And so I continued to do these orbs like that. And then I further came up with an idea of using some hair ties. This thing is so Jimmy rigged, you guys. So those little tiny plastic clear hair ties, I tied it around my brush at the end of the brush. And then I didn't have to try to like finagle holding on to all the edges of this little sheet. And it worked out much better. So here I go with my elastic bands. Like I said, it's quite jimmy rigged. You will not be able to find this in the stores. Ta-da! So much easier, guys. So much easier. Okay. And, you know, if you use your sheet as much as I did, there may even get to be a hole in the sheet. You might have to just grab an extra chunk of another little sheet. But I still have the same sheet that I've been using, you guys. It comes in like a pack of 25, 50. This is going to last me my lifetime, I'm sure. You really don't need a lot of it. But anyways, you get the idea, and you see how it does blur that light, so it makes it look like it's glowing, and it's like so inviting. I just wanna go chase after the butterflies. So, yeah, that's basically about it. Now, when I go to do the lightning bugs or fireflies or whatever you like to call them, I'm using a smaller brush. So the tip is extremely small, and I'm, using the same finagled jimmy rig system for these little dots in the foreground. It really makes a big difference when you make them glow like that. It looks so cute. Then you are going to take your tape off. You guys are done. You just created a masterpiece. Congratulations. Let me know what you think if you're going to give it a go. I would love for you guys to email me your paintings. I would love to put it on our community and we could chit chat about it. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.